A long, long time ago, in a castle far away, a little princess picked up a book and read away. So, our last extra episode was about my stories, and you're going to find out about her stories this episode and see how different we really are here, because it is nowhere near similar. But that's a good thing. Variety is the spice of life, correct?
I guess. Opposites attract. The thing is, mine is more like nostalgia.
That's fine.
It's not necessarily the books themselves, it's like just the memories that come with them. Okay, so this is going to be quite kiddish for a little bit. Okay?
Yeah.
I say this because my first book is from the Little Critter series by Mercer Mayer. So I had like all the Little Critter books when I was little, and that's the Little Critter right there. And I saved this one because, well, winter's like my favorite season, which Florida doesn't have, but I still think winterish thoughts a lot. And so that's why I saved this one. And plus, it's a special one because it's a touch and feel book. So it has like all these little cool things you can do in it. Like you can pull the cat and be like, wow, you know, and like you can feel the inside of his coat, and it's a fun one. Whereas the other ones, which are also good, they're not touch and feel. So that was like the first series that I got into when I was younger. Unlike Kevin, who pretty much started reading in 1997, I've been reading for pretty much as long as I can remember. I was a watcher of the great Reading Rainbow.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Hosted by LeVar Burton, who became my favorite Star Trek character, Geordi. Probably because he did Reading Rainbow. But anyways, so I've been reading quite some time. And yeah, so this just reminds me of when I was little, which, you know, sometimes you need that in these times of being an adult, you know. I'm escaping the darkness, but not going into darkness like you. I'm going into happy. So anyways, so that's that. I just banged the table, sorry. My next one, my favorite book of all time when I was younger, Fish Face by Patricia Riley Giff. It's a part of the Kids of the Polk Street School series. I have read this thing numerous times. I can't tell you why it's my favorite, or was my favorite. It just stuck with me. I mean, it was so much my favorite that there's a letter to the author in it that I never sent. But that's just because I'm a procrastinator. But yeah, so this was one of my favorites. I read it a lot when I was in elementary school. It's like one of those, like, I would go and read it over and over and over again. It was probably part of the whole, they used to have these things, I don't know if they still do, called Scholastic Book Fairs. And they would come to your school and they'd set up these tables with like books and erasers and posters. But before that, you were sent home with a flyer. So you could like go through it and be like, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And then they'd set it all up in your school and you could like go to town. But anyway, so this may have come from that. I don't know. But anyways, Fish Face. It's a little kid memory again. This is horrible.
No, it's not.
Because we're going into another kid one. But it's a slightly older kid series.
So there's a progression.
There's a progression. It is definitely from the Scholastic Book Fair, because it has Scholastic on the bottom here. But it's the Goosebumps series by R.L. Stine. I loved this series. I'm not a horror person by no means. Like, I don't like to watch the movies, and I don't generally read horror genre. But this I loved. I remember not only getting it from Scholastic Book Fairs, but they used to sell them at our local grocery store. And so me and my brothers, because I think my brother read them too. He was not into reading as much as myself, but we would go, we would actually want to go grocery shopping so we could take our little allowance and buy ourselves, well, at least me anyways, so I could buy my Goosebumps book. This is the first one in the series. Not necessarily my favorite one. Just if I go based on covers, the ones that I tend to remember are One Day at Horrorland. Didn't you say you read that? Yeah. And then I think there's one called Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Those were probably my top ones. Which then from here, I believe you can age up and it goes into Fear Street, which I did read some of those and I enjoyed those as well. So my goal is I'd like to get the whole series. Yeah.
I don't even know how big that is.
I don't know, because they have side series, So anyways, another kid one. I mean, I kind of feel like if you're watching and you're close to my age, you probably also enjoyed a Goosebumps book every now and then, because this junk was the hot junk at one point. Okay, so...
I mean, I read a couple of them when I was younger, but it didn't, stick with me.
It didn't stick with you? It stuck with me. I really enjoyed them. So anyways. Alright, so now...
We might be hitting adult territory.
We're getting into an adult book. A more adult book. However, I read it when I was in high school. So, it's the only Stephen King book that I have ever read. The Green Mile. I read it before the movie. Before watching the movie. And it's definitely, I think, better than the movie, from what I remember. This one, it sticks with me because this is, the first book of this magnitude that I ever read. So, and it's my first Stephen King book. Which, again, I generally do not do, horror, which he's a big writer of, but this is not a horror... This is a good one. Yeah. So
it's not horror, so it's good.
I'm saying out of his books, if you're not into horror, but you're I don't want to read him because all he writes is horror. No, this is a good one that's not horror. I'm sure he has a couple other that are not horror, but he's generally known for. Mm-hmm. If I'm correct.
And he has I know he has a shared universe thing going on too. I just don't know enough about him.
Yeah. I mean, I also like Tom Hanks. So I probably was I want to see that movie, but I want to actually read the book first. And I probably had to have some kind of reading for homeroom or something, one of them classes where you just sit around and do nothing for however long. So I picked this one and I enjoyed it.
The next one might be the only one kind of tangible to the channel. As far as normal stuff.
Right. So the next one, the Essential Homer. It's the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Don't.
I enjoyed it. I it's a classic, first of all. It's the only classic of this arena that I have read. It's probably on my list because one, I enjoyed it, as I said. But I also read it when I was spending 1 quarter at the Ohio State University, which was, as you can see. Anyways.
You planned that.
No, I didn't. Anyways, because if you look, I wore one in your video too. So, anyway. I've just said anyways like a million times. Really good. Fantasy. I guess you could say fantasy, right? Classic fantasy? I don't know. What would you classify it as? Or is it going to be one of those multiple genre ones?
You can call it fantasy, you can call it myth, you can call it legend, you can call it...
multiple genre ones. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this one.
The hero's journey.
Yeah, I'm hoping... Because you have not read this, have you?
I have read some Homer a long time ago. It was forced in school, so I don't really...
Yeah, well, this was a school thing, but like I said, it was like college.
Like when I was forced to do anything in school, I didn't enjoy it,
exactly.
Just for the principle to matter.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that with Seven's book discussions, maybe we can put this on a future read list. Okay, and then you can. Oh, is everything okay? Just checking it out. Are you just checking it out?
Reading a line just to...
Oh yeah. Okay. And then to keep with the greatness, obviously Ohio State. This is the history of the football team. So
cheaters.
Oh, shut it. You're just jelly because the team that you try to root for sucks every single time.
Whatever.
Boo, blue. Anyway, so yeah. It's also special because you got it for me. Why did you get it for me? What was your logic?
I was looking for a gift. Ohio State, she'll like it.
So yeah. So I enjoyed it. I enjoy history, learning about history. So this was really cool on that too, because I've been, as Kevin says, brainwashed since birth to be a Buckeye.
It happens.
It's nice to know, the backstory to the greatness. So that's that one. And then my last one, which would be another classic, but of a different era, Gone with the Wind. This is probably, I don't know, maybe the largest book I've read to date. I mean, it's pretty big. And the font is not huge, but it's not super small either. This one was given to me by some lady. She gave it to me as a wedding gift. Not my wedding, but I was her maid of honor in her wedding. And this is her favorite romance story of all time. And she put in a little, note for me, but, we're not going to share all that right now. But, so yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm going to read it. And again, it's kind of like a history thing, A lot of historical reference. Yeah, a lot of historical reference. I'm not technically, okay, I am in the South, but I'm not in the South. Florida's kind of just here. Anyways, but yeah, so this one's special because my best friend gave it to me, and it was a really good story, and I also enjoyed, so after I read it out, naturally, I watched the movie, and I really enjoyed the movie, too. So, and unlike Green Mile, in which I thought the book was better than the movie, the book and the movie on this one, I really liked them both.
Even though they're different?
Even though, yeah. But they were both good. So, that is my 7. I
want to just say, I do not see a pattern.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's really no pattern here. I can't really pick favorite books. These are just, like I said, they have memories with them. Oh, I forgot to mention, we gotta go back to when I was a youngin'. So I think another reason I was reading these books so, fervor, I can't say the word. Fervently was because there was this program called Book It. And if your teacher would set, I think the teachers determined how many books had to be read to get the star, and I believe once you had all the stars on your Book It button filled, you could go to Pizza Hut and you could get a free personal pan pizza. So, you're a kid, you love pizza, you go read so you can get more pizza. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's still around, but I don't know. I think it's all digital now, and I don't even know if Pizza Hut's still around, but...
Pizza Hut's still around.
But anyways, so yeah, like, most of my food motivation, for a good portion of it, easy reading and fun, and then just interest for the rest. I mean, like I said, I can't really pick favorites. It's all tied to just random.
Well, as far as more current, what have you been reading that's been interesting for you?
So what have I been reading? Well, so what I've been reading and I hope to finish up. I kind of am cheating on this one. So this is the first book in the Outlander series. I have seen all 5 seasons. So we're in, I guess the 5th season wrapped up in last year or the year before. Whatever. It's in Droughtlander. We're in a period of drought. So I'm like, I'll read the book. Well, I'm not really reading the book because I started to read the book and all I can picture is all the characters on the show, which is fine, but I'm just like, I already know, essentially. So I've been actually listening to it. Because I'm doing the audiobook. And because I'm able to listen to podcasts and stuff when I'm at work. So that helps make the time go by. So I've said, you know what, I'm going to do an audiobook. I've never done an audiobook before. So this is my first audiobook. I just hit the halfway mark last week. I'm actually doing, I don't want to say I'm doing a read along because one of the podcasts that I'm listening to, the Outlander podcast, they started their podcast back before season 1, so in 2013. And so in order to pass the time until the first season, they did a read along.
And they broke down the chapters.
And they broke down the chapters. So I just discovered their podcast, so I'm kind of going from the beginning of their podcast and working my way through. And they just discuss the chapters, and they do 1 or 2. Well, back then it was 1 or 2 each week. But since they're on episode, I don't know what now. It could be however many you want per week. So this one I'm hoping to get done. And then I'm also working on another Outlander-ish. Clanlands. Sam Heughan, Graham McTavish. Sam Heughan plays Jamie in Outlander. Graham McTavish is Dougal Mackenzie. But anyway, so this is them road tripping through Scotland. And they're just sharing all kinds of tidbits about Scotland, about being actors, and all that good stuff. I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it so far. I started it maybe last year, but
it was starting to spoil the show.
It was spoiling the show, which I hadn't started yet. So I had to stop. So now that I'm caught up on the show, I can I started this over. So yeah, I've been enjoying that one too. I hope to have it done, not doing the audio, actual reading it. So those are my 2 for this year goal, plus whatever we're going to be working on for Seven's book discussions.
Okay, so what do you want to read in the future?
Obviously what we're going to be doing. Future, I wasn't planning on talking about future. I thought I was.
Well, you said finish this for the year, so.
Well, yeah, I thought you were going to ask me what I've read recently that I did enjoy, but whatever. You're running the questionnaire. What I hope to read, well, obviously, I want to keep going with this.
Right.
I don't know how many books there are in the series. There's another one coming out in November, I believe, but I don't know what number it is. So obviously keep going on with that. Since I think the seasons correlate with the books, I may do audio for a couple of these books. So that. They have another book coming out actually too, so I wouldn't mind checking that out. What else do I hope to read? I think we have one pre-ordered. I can't remember the name of it now. Damn it. I wasn't prepared for this. I don't know. I'm trying not to think future too much.
Okay.
For once in my life.
So go back to the question you thought I was going to ask.
What I have read, okay, so I read Mythos by Stephen Fry, and that's a retelling of the Greek myths, which was very interesting. I'm going to add that to my bookcase. The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, I believe. That was good. And there's another one of those. So there's actually a second book. I want to read that one. I can see the name, but I can't see the name. Like, I can see the title, but I can't see the title. But anyways, that was good. What else did I read? Obviously, Mistborn. I enjoyed that. And we're working on we will be working on Hero of Ages. We're on Well of Ascension. I'm enjoying that. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of just browse the store and read the back usually. Or if I'm reading a magazine and they have like book reviews in there, I read what they say and add it to my list. So, mine's not as exciting as his was.
Depends on who you ask.
So, I had some other books I read. And this is why I wish I could remember the name of our pre-order book, because the name of this other book called A Man Called Ove, they use it to as a comparison for this pre-ordered book. What is the name of the book? It's coming out, I don't know when, but we've got it pre-ordered. But anyways, I read A Man Called Ove. I really enjoyed that one. That was sent to me by some lady. She sent me actually a box of books because I was kind of in a funk, and she was like, oh, these are the books I like to read when I kind of need a pep and pick me up and whatnot, and I really enjoyed these books, and so she sent them to me, and that was one of them, and I really enjoyed it. So,
well, I guess that about covers your
my 7. Yeah.
Anything you want to add at the end here? Or?
No, I think that's it. Oh! Another Scholastic Book Fair find! I used to be a big Trolls person. I still have this bookmark. The paid is not very visible anymore, but it's still on there, so I didn't swipe it like a lot of little kids were doing back in the day. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Well, I guess until next time, see you later.
Bye!